So name the type of blood cells that produce antibodies. It's lymphocytes. The difference between antibody and antigen is antibody is a protein produced by white blood cells in response to the presence of an antigen. Put the full stop there. And the antigen is found on the surface of the microbe which invades your body. And it's this antigen which triggers an immune response, and that's when the white blood cells produce the antibodies to counteract this foreign body inside of you. Right. Describe what is meant by the term herd immunity. Now, at this point, you can pause the video and have a go and see what you come up with for this definition. But the herd immunity is when enough of the population is immune to an infection. So herd immunity, this is when enough of the population is immune to a particular disease, example COVID-19. All right. Okay, so our next one is medicine. So what is a medicine? Well, here it says a medicine makes the person feel better. So you take a medicine to feel better. You're having a headache, you take some paracetamol. You're having other more excruciating pains, you can take ibuprofen with it, or you can take cocodamol, etc. If you have an infection and they say it's a bacterial infection, you can take antibiotics and so on. And the medicine treats the symptoms. For example, paracetamol will cure the symptom for headache. Cure the disease, you take antibiotics for that. Something that treats communicable disease, so antibiotic would treat a bacterial infection, which is a communicable disease, and non-communicable disease. So some diseases which, for example, cancers, you can take medicines for them as well. To ease symptoms as well as to kill off cancer cells. So you can take medicines for that too. Medicines that cure people include chemotherapy against some cancers. Antibiotics will kill bacteria, and antifungals will kill fungal pathogens. Okay, antibiotics. So you need to make notes as well where possible or where you think you need to. So antibiotics damage bacteria and eventually kill them. Each type of antibiotic interfere with the bacteria's life processes. Example, making of cell wall. So it interferes with that. Specific bacteria are treated with specific antibiotics. And these are the different classes of antibiotics. So we don't use the same antibiotics for everything. It's not broad spectrum. So you will have some antibiotics which will kill some bacteria and not others. Okay, and the specification, so for the biology spec under antibiotics and painkillers, it says students should be able to explain the use of antibiotics and other medicines in treating diseases. Antibiotics such as penicillin are medicines that help to cure bacterial diseases by killing the infective bacteria inside the body. It is important that specific bacteria should be treated by specific antibiotics. The use of antibiotics has greatly reduced the deaths of infectious bacterial diseases. However, the emergence of strain-resistant antibiotics is a great concern. Antibiotics cannot kill viruses. Painkillers and other medicines are used to treat the symptoms of disease. So painkillers treat symptoms, but they do not kill the microbe that is making you ill. It is difficult to develop drugs that kill viruses without also damaging the body tissues. Right, hang on a minute. Okay, And then we have Alexander Fleming, was a Scottish scientist, and he discovered penicillin, the first antibiotic by accident. So he basically put his his things away back in 1928, went off on his holidays, and he did not put one of his cultures away that like he's supposed to, so it was left out. The fungal spores grew, fell onto the agar, into the agar plate, the petri dish, and it grew. And the bacteria that were in that plate, they died. All of them, which were surrounding the bacteria. Let me start this again. Okay, all of the bacteria which were surrounding the where the fungal spore fell, they died. And so when he came back, he had that, he realized that there was something that was growing in there, compound of some sort, which was produced by the fungal, the mold had produced something that killed those bacteria. And as a result, that's where the research started, and it carried on until the mid to late 1940s before they started mass producing penicillin. And thankfully, due to his work and other scientists, were able to survive dangerous bacterial infections. So here's a quiz on the development of antibiotics and also the story of Dr. Alexander Fleming. All right, so there are 8 questions. You can watch this video, so you would have to follow a link or just type into YouTube history of antibiotics, and you can try the TED Talk video. That one should be quite helpful. Here are the questions. You can watch them and use the information from there to help you to answer the questions. But here goes. So we go through them. So I hope you had paused the video, had a go for yourselves, and then you come over onto this section of the presentation. All right. Number 1 says, what was Alexander Fleming searching for? And it was, so what was he searching for after the war? And he was searching for compounds that could kill bacteria. Number 2, what did Alexander Fleming do with his plates before he went on holiday? He put them in a bath of antiseptic. And remember, antiseptics are substance or chemicals which kills microbes on the surface. Okay, so you can use it to clean a wound, clean a tabletop, etc. So antiseptics kill microbes outside the body. A speck of what landed on Alexander Fleming's culture plate? And it is a fungus from a mold. So it's the blue-green mold that you will see growing on your fruits which have gone off, or on bread, etc. Why couldn't the story of something flying through the window be true? It's because Fleming couldn't open his windows as he was using lots of glassware and equipment. And he couldn't reach the window because they were assuming that maybe it was something else. What started to grow on the plate? A fungi or something, fungus? But it was mold. What did Fleming realize was happening when he inspected his plate? He realized that the bacteria couldn't grow around the fungus, and so it must be stopping the bacteria from growing. How did Alexander Fleming prove that penicillin is harmless to human cells? And it's because he mixed it with some of his own blood and looked at it down a microscope, and he noticed that it had no effect on the blood cells. Why did Fleming lose interest in his discovery? It's because he couldn't get enough penicillin to cure an infected wound properly, so he gave up. All right, so viruses or bacteria, what's got you sick, or what got you sick? So you can have a read through this slide if you want to. Antibiotics, so here you would also make brief notes. So they do not kill viruses, protists, or fungi. And don't forget that protist is the microbe which causes malaria. Okay, did I say virus? Protist is the microbe that causes malaria. However, they don't affect human cells either. So that's why it is safe for us to take it. What's the difference between antibiotics and painkillers? Well, painkillers, aspirin and paracetamol are painkillers. They ease the symptoms, but they do not have any effect on the pathogen. You have to wait for your immune system to overcome the invading microorganisms. For example, when we have a viral infection, whether it's the flu or COVID 19. Deeper thinking. Why is it difficult to develop drugs that kill viruses? Remember, in the past, I said that viruses, they hijack our body cells. They go in, they take over, they reproduce rapidly, and that's how they make us ill. So if you take antibiotics for them, it will have no effect, because if the antibiotics had to have an effect, it would also damage our body cells as well. So they can only survive if they are inside. It is very difficult to target viruses without disrupting the patient's own body cells. And then you have some questions here that you need to pause the video and have a go at. So link each drug with its medical use. Antibiotic, anti-inflammatory, painkiller. Then describe the difference between an antibiotic and an antiseptic. So I mentioned that earlier. State diseases, a disease that can be treated with antibiotics, and explain why antibiotics are not used to treat influenza. You need to think about what influenza is, first of all, before you attempt to answer this question. Didn't expect that. All right. And so you have more questions there, and then the mark scheme, etc. So I'm going to leave those with you to save on time. And until next time, folks, we will move on to the next lesson in this unit. Take good care, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.